distinguished chairman of the Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters, distinguished Senator Opeyemi Bamidele, distinguished senators and members of the committee, other distinguished personalities here present, my learned brothers, the members of the press. My name is Monica Dongban Mensem, and I am from Plateau State, from Shandam. I was born on the 13th day of June, 1957, in Shandam, local government of Plateau State, Nigeria. I started school, well, I was born of Pa William Mensem and Mama Martina Dasuk. My father was a missionary teacher, and he worked mainly in the then Northwest, particularly in Kaduna. And my first association with education was in Kaduna State, in a small village called Kaswa, which is still there, and is still part of Kaduna State. I went through the school, and during the war, we had to go back home. And through a lot of difficulty, my father and I got back to Plateau State, to our village, and from there, after the war, I went to Jos to school, to continue with my school. That's the primary school. And then we had up to primary 7, but in primary 6, I took the exam to go to the secondary school, and I was successful. I was admitted into St. Louis College in Jos, and while I was there, I was nominated to participate in the Unity program of the then Plateau State and Midwestern State, Benue Plateau, then consisting of, the Nasarawa State, Benue State, then Gongola, all those parts of the large states that we had then. So I had the privilege of schooling in Benin City in St. Margaret College, which is now Eden College, still in Benin City. I concluded my secondary school in 1975. I wrote my last exam on the 1st of July, 1975, and on the 22nd of July, 1975, I resumed in ABU to do the School of Basic Studies, from which I was again successful and offered admission to ABU to study law. I studied law and graduated in 1979, and then went to the law school. I was called to the bar in 1980. I went back to my state and served first as a registrar of the court. After youth service, I did my youth service in the Ministry of Justice and concluded in the High Court. And then I was offered appointment as a registrar of the court. And there I worked proofreading judgments of High Court judges. And from there I was offered appointment as a magistrate. And I worked as a magistrate, rising through the ranks up to the position of chief magistrate. And in 1993, I was appointed a judge of the High Court of Plateau State. I worked there until 1996, when I was, I sought to transfer my services to the FCT, because I felt that having worked and garnered experience, the FCT, the Federal Capital Territory, needed experienced hands like mine. So I offered my services, and I was fortunate to be admitted and appointed as judge of the Federal Capital Territory High Court, where I worked until 2003, when I was invited to serve as a justice of the Court of Appeal. And I have since been serving my nation in the Court of Appeal to this date, when I was again invited by the provisions of our Constitution to take the acting position of the President upon the creation of vacancy by the retirement of my predecessor, who attained the age of 70, which the Constitution requires all judges should retire from, that is justice of the Court of Appeal and of the Supreme Court. And that's why I'm here. The members of the National Judicial Council recommended my appointment to Mr. President, who found me worthy and appointed me. And they've yes, upon my nomination to act, I was also nominated and recommended for appointment as a substantive president. That's why I'm here before your distinguished selves for screening and possible confirmation. Now, in between, while I was working, I did several ad hoc jobs. Within the judiciary, I was both member and chairman of different committees, different judicial committees. I've served on several committees and several panels of election matters. And I have some masters. I have a master's degree and a few other qualifications, because I believe in continuing education. So each time I have an opportunity to upgrade myself, I take advantage and I study, because I believe in that. Education is the best form of survival. And I think basically this is me. And I must say that I have a lot of compassion for my fellow human beings. I like to be a solution provider rather than be a part of a problem. So anytime, anywhere I see there is a problem, I like to find a solution. And as much as possible, I avoid being a problem to anybody and to myself. Now, I have been in the judiciary. Well, I will be 40 years post-call to the bar in July. And all that period, I have been serving in the judiciary. So the judiciary is my home, is my institution. I don't know any other place. Therefore, I have a passion for the judiciary. I would like to, and I have dreamt of many things that I should put in the judiciary to see that the judiciary of Nigeria, it moves forward. We have been doing our best, and I know that we can still do better. And I aspire to take the Court of Appeal forward. I desire to ensure that the Court of Appeal is ICT compliant, fully ICT compliant. I desire to take steps to ensure that delays in adjudication are reduced to the minimum. And I have thought of different ways that can be done, and I believe when I sit with my learned brothers and discuss with them, we can fine-tune my aspirations and come up with good ways, positive ways to move the institution forward. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Your Excellency, the Deputy Chief Senate President.
Distinguished colleagues, you have heard from my Lord, the nominee. And I'm sure most of what she said will be meant more for the purpose of the Nigerian public getting to meet her. Because as distinguished members of this committee, we already got copies of her CV, which of course summarizes all that she has said. Well, there are different ways by which we conduct our screening. There are moments we proceed on a note that we are dealing with someone who is totally unknown to us, but it doesn't matter. The president has so nominated the person, and will screen thoroughly based on documentation before us. There are also moments we screen based on antecedents, whether because the person had been one of us or had the opportunity of serving in the National Assembly. And I get this another opportunity to explain to Nigerians that when people come into Parliament to be screened into public offices, and some members of the Senate raise the observation that such members be allowed to take a bow, members of public do wonder why such things happen. Again, I explain the qualifications to become or to serve as a minister in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, according to the Constitution, is that you must be qualified to serve or to be elected as a member of the House of Representatives. So if somebody had served in the House of Representatives, or for that matter in the Senate, and some years later, a letter comes before the Senate asking for confirmation of such a person as a nominee, I guess it would be a waste of the precious time of the Senate, a waste of public fund, and a waste of precious time that could be invested in doing some other things, if the Senate will have to now adopt the same approach and standard that is used to screen somebody who is coming unknown. Having made this general observation, I will yield the floor first to His Excellency, the Deputy President of the Senate. And after him, I will invite one or two of our distinguished colleagues who are members of this committee and members of the Nigerian Senate from the North Central geopolitical zone. And thereafter, I would throw the floor open for other distinguished members of the committee who may have questions or comments or might want to see further clarification. But at this point, it's my pleasure to bring to the microphone His Excellency, Distinguished Senator Ovie Omo Agege.
My predecessor, Senator Ike Ekweremadu, and our former colleague who served with us in the 8th Senate, Senator Adokwe, all distinguished senators here and present. I also want to very specially welcome the acting president of the Court of Appeal. By the grace of God, hopefully by tomorrow evening, tomorrow afternoon, the president of the Court of Appeal. Amen. I also want to acknowledge the presence of my Oga, my senior brother, Justice Aboki, and indeed all of the justices of the Court of Appeal here present, most especially my brother from the South, Justice Agim, I must recognize you. And then, of course, my brother, my very good friend, Justice Musale of the FCT High Court. I do so because he currently serves in the Supreme Court of the Gambia, and my dad also happened to have served as Chief Justice of that country. So I'm always excited when I see people who pass through that route of the Supreme Court of the Gambia. Ordinarily, I should not be here as the Deputy President. I'm only privileged or allowed by my colleagues to serve in just one committee. That's the committee I chair, the Committee on the Constitution Review. But having said that, I want to thank the chairman of the committee for his magnanimity in allowing me to be here in solidarity with this nomination. Having said so, I think he also, in extending that magnanimity, also acknowledged that I am a member of this committee, an emeritus member of this committee, because I served in this committee in the 8th Senate. I also wear different caps. When his lordship gave opening just now, she did indicate that she went to Maria Goretti, now Eden Girls Grammar School in Benin City. Benin City, as you all know, was in the old Bendel state. Today's Delta and Edo make up Bendel. So I deem her to be one of my constituents. I say so because there are some of my colleagues here who are here in solidarity from their zones. So you are also from the South zone. And of course, I also wear another cap as a legal practitioner and one who also grew up in judiciary. Yeah, I've been termed the child of the judiciary. So I've always taken an exceptional interest in anything that affects the growth of judiciary, and that includes recruitment to fill the personnel of the judiciary. Before I came here, I took my time to go through your CV I'm not sure I'm going to be here during the question and answer session, but I'll just say a little bit of this. I took my time to go through this CV, and this CV, frankly, is very, very rich. There's no doubt that you are going to add value to the Court of Appeal. I want to say that I join Mr. President in his wisdom in making this nomination. You'll be appearing, you'll be appearing before us. Frankly, I think this is one of several nominations that ends here. No, I mean, before us, I'm talking about a plenary, where most of us, will be at. Unlike our other colleagues, they don't have the opportunity to at least look at your face. And thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for allowing her to remove her mask so that we could see her. Because some of us could see her tomorrow, we may walk past her, we may not know her. I want to put on record that when you do appear, when the report of this screening committee is made available to us tomorrow for consideration, you can take to the bank that you have my support. And this is one vote that you already have. I do not want to speak on behalf of the Senate because I'm not here as the Deputy Senate President, but I'm here as a senator, one of the senators representing your zone, the South-South zone. So once again, I want to extend my congratulations to you and wish you good luck and wish you well. Thank you very much.
President Designate, my lords, other judges here present. Distinguished colleagues, let me also say that looking at Justice Abuki, I thought you came here with a wig. But I can assure that this is only his hair. So I welcome the rest of judges here present and the Secretary of NJC and friends here. Mr. Chairman, I'm not going to ask a question. I'm going to just offer advice on two areas that are of concern to me. I want to thank you for this opportunity. One is the issue of the election matters that come to the Court of Appeal. As politicians, especially those in the Parliament, it's been of concern to us matters regarding the inconsistencies or conflicting judgments from different divisions and panels. It's not their making, really, but I just want to appeal that going forward, you need to sit with your colleagues to find a way of dealing with it. In 2010, when we amended the Constitution, we wisely believed that appeals regarding National Assembly and State Assembly should end at the Court of Appeal. It was supposed to be the same way for the governors, except this man here, Susan, who insisted as governor then that we should take it to the Supreme Court. And we did. So it appears that for governors and their petitions, matters seem to be settled in a number of issues, but we still have a lot of challenges in the Court of Appeal. So I just want to appeal that this is an area you also look into to see how we can have some level of consistency in the judgments coming from Court of Appeal in election matters. The second one, which is even more fundamental to me, is that in the appointment of heads of courts, from the state to the federal, to the Court of Appeal, to the Supreme Court, it comes with a lot of anxiety. And because of this anxiety, the Elene brothers take stands, sometimes unnecessarily, because they don't have control of these things. And what it gives rise to is that when the head of court is finally appointed, you have people who come and say, we supported you among your colleagues, and some say, oh, this other person didn't support you. And what it ends up with is you have a clique of people, what we call in the political circle, caucus, or if you like, So I want to appeal the learned President of Court of Appeal that going forward, please ensure that you work together with all your colleagues. For us, once we finish elections, what remains for us is leadership. So that's why I can see those in PDP and those in APC and other political parties here. I hardly know the divide. So once the head of court is appointed, I expect that the head of court should carry along every judge in that level of the judiciary to make sure that you end well and be able to say that, look, while I was there, I was able to do so. So I can't do that if there are distractions of division or distractions of loyalty and disloyalty and rumors of such things. Because it's definitely going to come. So I want to appeal to you that going forward, there should not be an incident of these are the people who supported me and these are those who were against me. You won't be here because they supported you or did not support you. Just the grace of God that will be finally appointed. And the best you can do for that same God is to be just to all concerned. Mr. Chairman, that's my comment.
Notice the difference between when you concede to a judgment on which panel you're also sitting, and you just say your own in 2 words, I concur. You have seen the way politicians concur. Probably concurring with a speech almost longer, than the other one. But thank you for all your kind words, distinguished Senator Peter Waboshi. And at this point, we come to the final business of the day. During the screening exercise, we need to come to some sort of conclusion, and then we'll conclude on our own. I will put the question. From the preponderance of opinion, it appears to be the wish of members of this distinguished committee that the nominee of Mr. President, who is appearing before us, be allowed, based on her antecedents, based on the information contained in her curriculum vitae, based on the address she has verbally presented to us as a committee and to Nigerians through us, and also based on the fact, as presented by the Secretariat of our committee, that there is no petition before the Senate opposing this recommendation by Mr. President, as a matter of a recommendation by NJC through Mr. President to us, that because of all of this, and the personal knowledge of a good number of our colleagues of her and of Nigerians, to the effect that she's a fit and proper person, so is it taken as our consensus that she be allowed to take a bow and go? Yes. Well, my Lord, well, I ask again, those who are in support of this, I'm sure we'll still do this a second time when it's just us in our committee. But again, for the avoidance of doubt, those who are in support of the motion that she be allowed to take a bow and go, please say aye. Aye. Those who are opposed to that, please say no. Well, my Lord, I want to say that, as it is said in our profession, it's res ipsa loquitur. But please, as we do this, and just before the gavel, goes, let me say that the enthusiasm with which Nigerians greeted your nomination by Mr. President, and the respect that our distinguished colleagues have accorded to you, And of course, the resolution by the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to suspend certain standing orders of the Senate this morning to allow this confirmation hearing to hold so speedily. All of these also come with expectations. People have prayed for you, and I join in that prayer that God will give you the grace that it takes to deliver on those expectations. As you come to occupy this seat, if by God's grace tomorrow the Senate finally confirms your appointment, it is our hope as a committee that we'll continue to be able to work with you and other heads of courts in this country, and that you continue to be a part of that courageous leadership in the judiciary that Nigerians desire to have, to be able to stand up in fair and fearless manner for the oppressed people, that the poor will continue to find their voice in the judiciary through you, the less privileged, and the rights of our people will continue to be guaranteed. And that you also do everything that you can with the rest of the leadership of the judiciary to ensure that justice is not only delivered, but that it's delivered in timely manner, whatever it will take. And God knows we'll be happy to also work with you in that. And on the part of the executive arm of government, as a committee and as an institution, the third arm of government, we also want to make this call for the umpteenth time that it cannot be business as usual. There is a need to revisit the budget of the judiciary. The judiciary is an arm of government, today having less than 1% of the overall annual budget of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. There is a need for proper funding of our judiciary, and as much as possible, we must also specifically, again, look into the need to urgently and upwardly review the welfare situation of our judicial officers in terms of their remuneration and the conditions under which they work. I say for the record again on behalf of this committee that the last time the remuneration, salaries specifically, of judicial officers were reviewed in this country was in 2008. When you are a judge, you are on the same salary. You don't get promoted every 12 calendar months like the rest of civil servants. You may as well retire on that remuneration. The last time it was reviewed was in 2008. With all the inflationary trend in the country, you would be expecting magic from our judicial officers if we continue to expect that they will give in their best without us being concerned about their welfare. Some of us are also afraid that this sector of our national life and work might go into distinction, because in some years to come, nobody might be interested in going to serve on the bench if the conditions under which people work are not improved. And having made these few remarks, let me congratulate once again the President Designate and nominee of Mr. President, and in accordance with the wishes of our colleagues, ask you to take a bow and leave us to round up so that we can report back to the Senate tomorrow.
are new to this committee. You are new to this committee.